Stories that define the day from every single corner of the planet. That's right, I'm Arjun, Samar, Mahendran, and this is the Tuesday edition of the World Report. First and foremost, let's take you through the latest coming in from the West Asia conflict. US President Donald Trump has said Iran will negotiate with the US or face problems like they've never seen before. That's right, now his latest comments come amid continued uncertainty over whether Tehran can be actually persuaded to send a delegation to Pakistan's Islamabad or not. Meanwhile, Iran has launched a complaint with the UN over the US's seizure of its cargo ship. It is condemning it as a barbarous act that, in its terms, violates international laws and conventions. Meanwhile, markets in Asia have rebounded on early trading, with investors holding on to hopes that the US and Iran may resume peace talks in Pakistan's Islamabad. Well, just a few days ago, the US-Iran talks seemed to be heading towards some kind of a resolution. However, and a big however here, US President Donald Trump's public remarks over the weekend seem to have dampened the spirits. Here's a special NDTV World Report looking at the timeline.
After almost 7 straight weeks of destruction, there were indications over the weekend that the US and Iran will soon be zeroing in on a deal. What followed was a series of outlandish claims and remarks by the US President Donald Trump. They seem to have put a big question mark over the US-Iran talks. Trump claimed that Tehran had agreed to most of the contentious US demands, including that it had said yes to handing over enriched uranium. Trump's claims were rebuffed by Iran as its leaders denied they were preparing for another round of talks. Let's look at how it all went south. The president said in a Friday interview with CBS News that Iran has agreed to everything, adding that it will work with the US to remove its enriched uranium. Trump also said that the US would take the uranium. Iran's response was swift and direct, saying enriched uranium is as sacred to us as Iranian soil and will not be transferred anywhere under any circumstances. On Sunday morning, Trump told Fox News that without a deal, the whole country is getting blown up. Minutes later, he took to Truth Social, saying that if Iran doesn't take the deal, all of its power plants and bridges will be attacked. In the midst of Trump's barrage, a US destroyer fired on and seized an Iranian vessel. Tehran vowed for revenge. Then came Trump's reversal. Speaking to Bloomberg on Monday morning, he said it's highly unlikely he'd extend the ceasefire if a deal isn't reached by the time it expires. US media reports suggest some Trump officials have accepted that the president's public remarks have been detrimental to talks. As hopes of ceasefire extension hang by a thread, the world keeps an eye on what Trump would say next. Bureau Report for NDTV World.
We stay with the larger conflict and now take you to West Asia's Lebanon, where NDTV reports from Naqoura. Now, this is where the situation remains volatile and deeply uncertain. Naqoura and several other towns, mind you, also villages, have been declared part of the yellow zone by the IDF forces. They're forcing the residents not to return to their homes. My colleague Mohammed Ghazali brings us this ground report.
We are right now in the Naqoura town, or the district in south of Lebanon. Naqoura is one town which has been occupied by Israel. Israel has created a buffer zone in the southern Lebanon, including Naqoura or Naura, what is called in Arabic. And there are multiple other neighboring areas which have been occupied by the IDF. They have evacuated the entire village or the entire region, asking citizens to leave it. They have created a yellow zone, or what they call their buffer zone. Now my camera person will show you that where I am standing, it also happens to be the city which headquarters the UNIFIL, the United Nations forces in Lebanon. Interim forces in Lebanon is the full form, which is also what we call the UN peacekeeping mission. So on this side, if you will see, this is the hilltop part of the Naqoura district, which has been occupied by the Israeli forces, and this entire road here which leads towards Naqoura, there is a checkpoint there as well, and you will see that these checkpoints there where you see these vehicles, this is where the Lebanese army is deployed. They're asking people not to go close to those places or even the road towards Naura. So this is how, and this entire city or the town here, if you see, this is all appearing wearing a deserted look. There nobody is staying here. They have all left their homes. They have abandoned their homes.
Now, as we get you these reports from Lebanon, a diplomatic firestorm is in fact erupting between Warsaw and Jerusalem. It has been sparked by the viral image of a sledgehammer and a sacred statue. That's right, it began on the 20th of April when an Israeli soldier was allegedly photographed smashing a statue of Jesus Christ in southern Lebanon. Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu called the act disgraceful, and he also issued a rare apology, experts of which are right besides me on your television sets. However, the fallout has now spiraled into a bitter public feud between top diplomats. That's right, Poland's Minister Radoslaw Sikorski took to social media to demand more than just an apology. He called for the soldier to be punished and went a step further, accusing the Israeli military of loose procedures, and he also claimed that the IDF soldiers have admitted to war crimes. Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Saar fired back immediately. He called Sikorski's comments slanderous and grossly ignorant of military realities. Saar then turned the tables, pointing to a shameful incident in the Polish parliament. You see, last week, where a far-right lawmaker in the Polish parliament displayed a modified Israeli flag featuring a Nazi swastika. The IDF, meanwhile, says an investigation into the statue's destruction is underway, but the war of words online shows no signs of cooling down. For now, a single act of vandalism has left one of Israel's key European alliances in pieces as the conflict still drags on. Shift our focus to the US, where Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer has exited Donald Trump's cabinet following allegations of abusing her positions. Now, this also includes an affair with a subordinate and misconduct at work. White House initially dismissed the allegations, but as investigations by the Labor Department's Inspector General intensified, her job security became uncertain. At least 4 Labor Department officials have already been forced from their jobs as the investigation progresses. She becomes the 3rd cabinet member to leave recently. The White House named Keith Sanderling as acting Labor Secretary. In North Carolina, a planned flight among youths turned deadly as gunfire killed 2 teenage boys and injured 5 others. The teenage boys killed are aged 16 and 17, and the other victims are aged between 14 and 19. Winston-Salem Police Captain Kevin Burns said multiple shooters are involved and that Police Chief William Penn confirmed no arrests have been made yet as investigators continue to probe the incident. We get you more.
We can confirm at this point that there was a total of 7 individuals were struck by gunfire. Detectives are actively working to determine each individual's role in this incident. Preliminary information indicates that some of those injured may have also been involved in the shooting. The investigation has revealed that this incident stemmed from a group of juveniles gathering at the park for a pre-planned fight. We want to be clear that this incident did not occur on school grounds. It was isolated to Lineback Park.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says 2 police officers who fled from the scene of Saturday's shooting attack in Kyiv will face prosecution, and they have been notified of the same. That's right, the attack carried out by a Russian-born gunman now has a death toll of 7 after an injured victim died in the hospital. 14 people had also been injured during the incident and had to be taken to the hospital. Authorities, meanwhile, are treating the rare incident as a terrorist attack. Cops have yet to find the motive for the shooting. Hungarian election winner Peter Magyar says Hungary will halt its withdrawal from the International Criminal Court, keeping the country under its jurisdiction. He stated that if Benjamin Netanyahu visits the country, the authorities will act on any ICC warrant that stands solid. The move comes after Hungary in 2025 decided to withdraw from the ICC in part due to disagreements over arrest warrants issued against Netanyahu and Viktor Orban's government, which was in turn supposed to come into action on the 2nd of June 2026. Magyar, now set to replace Orban, reversed this plan after his election victory. Listen in.
Én világosan fogalmaztam az izraeli miniszterelnöknek is, nem visszalépünk, mert megvizsgálták a kollégáim, és még meg tudjuk állítani a kilépést június 2-áig, hogy a Tisza kormány feltett szándéka, hogy ezt megállítsa, és hogy Magyarország tagja maradjon a Nemzetközi Büntetőbíróságnak. Úgyhogy én azt gondolom, hogy nem árultam semmiben zsákba macskát. Ha valaki tagja a Nemzetközi Büntetőbíróságnak, és olyan ember lép a hazánk területére, aki körözés alatt áll, akkor őt őrizetbe kell venni. Nem kell nekem mindent elmondani telefonon, feltételezze szerintem minden állam és kormányfőről, hogy tisztában van ezekkel a jogszabályokkal.
Sudan's military chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan arrived in Jeddah on Monday for talks with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on Sudan's conflict. Both leaders emphasized the importance of ensuring Sudan's security and stability and also preserving its unity, sovereignty and territorial integrity. The war, sparked in 2023 by clashes with Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, has killed at least 59,000 people, according to conflict monitors. Over in the UK, King Charles III paid tribute to his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, in a video marking what would have been her 100th birthday, saying today's challenges would have troubled her. He also urged celebrating her life, renewed his pledge of service, and noted royal events honouring her legacy. The Queen died in 2022, aged 96.
Today, as we mark what would have been my beloved mother's 100th birthday, my family and I pause to reflect on the life and loss of a sovereign who meant so much to us all, and to celebrate anew the many blessings of her memory. Queen Elizabeth's promise with destiny kept shaped the world around her and touched the lives of countless people across our nation, the Commonwealth, and beyond.
And well, we'll be right back after this short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back, viewers. Now we take you straight to Washington, where despite a public rift over the Iran war, President Donald Trump and podcast host Joe Rogan are keeping the alliance very much alive. You see, the two met in the Oval Office this very weekend, and now there are fresh details on how exactly the White House has been quietly working for months to hold on to one of its most influential supporters. That's right, while most of the others have drifted away. Take a look at this report. Saturday's scene was disarming in its casualness. A podcast king standing at the Resolute desk, watching the president sign an order he'd lobbied for by text message. The executive action fast-tracks approval for psychedelic-based therapies and unlocks $50 million for ibogaine research. Rogan had been pushing both for years.
With one dose of ibogaine, more than 80% of people are free of that addiction. With 2 doses, it's more than 90%. I sent him that information. The text message came back, sounds great. Do you want FDA approval? Let's do it. It was literally that quick.
That easy bomb didn't happen by accident. The White House spent months engineering it. Trump's executive order is only the latest edition. The Vice President flew to Austin for a private sit-down. The Health Secretary appeared on Joe Rogan's show. A parade of administration allies kept his phone buzzing. In fact, UFC Freedom 250 is scheduled to take place on the South Lawn of the White House in June. The goal seems as clear as daylight. The effort is a direct response to a number that worries the West Wing. Young men, the demographic Rogan delivered in 2024, are drifting. The polling is stark. Republicans hold a razor-thin majority. Losing young male turnout in even a handful of swing districts flips the chamber and ends Trump's legislative agenda. And critics opine that it's the views and influence Rogan enjoys with young American males which has kept Trump from unleashing his fury on him. Compare that to Trump's scorched earth break with Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones and Megyn Kelly. Similar MAGA Iran war critics whom the president publicly called low IQ, broke and even fried. The tension is genuine. Rogan has been loud about the Iran war. He calls it a betrayal of voters who believe Trump's promise of no new conflicts. Trump, for his part, needled back on Saturday, calling Rogan a little more liberal than I am. Yet neither man walked. In the high-stakes math of the 2026 midterms, it looks like the president has decided that keeping Rogan's massive audience is worth the price of keeping his critics close. Bureau Report, NDTV World. Stay with the US, where a small plane crashed into a parking lot outside an O'Reilly Auto Parts in Los Angeles on Monday, leaving the 70-year-old pilot critically injured. The LA Fire Department rescued him and rushed him to the hospital. Officials, meanwhile, have confirmed that he was not the only person on board and no other injuries have been reported. Cuba has confirmed it recently held talks with the US officials on the island, marking a rare diplomatic visit since 2016. Deputy Director General in charge of US Affairs at the Cuban Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Alejandro Garcia del Toro, said discussions were respectful, with Havana urging an end to the US energy embargo. Preparations are underway in Equatorial Guinea for the visit of Pope Leo XIV, seen as a moment to strengthen faith and unity across the country. Now, this trip, very importantly, marks the final leg of his Africa tour, a choice which is described by many residents of the city as an honor. Now, the Pope's tour has been completed in 3 countries, namely Angola, Algeria and Cameroon, where he criticized corruption and authoritarian rule affecting parts of the continent. American singer David has pled not guilty in a murder case. He's pled not guilty in a murder case. He was being held. American singer. Okay, we'll have to do this once again. Supers खुले हुए थे सर, मैं क्या करूं इसमें? American singer David, also known as David Burke, pleaded not guilty to multiple charges, including first-degree murder in the death of 14-year-old Celeste Trevas Hernandez. Authorities allege her dismembered remains were discovered inside her abandoned vehicle after months of investigation. Prosecutors also charged him with abuse of a minor and mutilation of a body. A judge, meanwhile, ordered him held without bail as the case proceeded in Los Angeles, where the victim's family attended his first court appearance. Apple on Monday announced that Tim Cook will step down as the tech giant's chief executive officer in September, handing the top job to company veteran John Ternus. The announcement answers long-simmering questions about a successor for the 65-year-old Cook, who in fact said he will become executive chairman of the board when he cedes Apple's CEO position. Let's take a look at the special NDTV World Report with more details on the incoming Apple CEO.
The world's most valuable tech giant is turning a historic page. After nearly 15 years at the helm, Tim Cook is stepping down as CEO of Apple, handing over the reins to a relatively low-profile insider now thrust into the global spotlight. This is not just a leadership change, it's the end of an era. Cook, who took over from Steve Jobs in 2011, transformed Apple into a $4 trillion powerhouse, expanding its ecosystem with products like the Apple Watch and AirPods. But come September, a new captain takes charge. Meet John Ternus, the engineer behind much of Apple's modern hardware. A veteran of the company since 2001, Ternus has led development across iPhone and iPad, quietly shaping the products millions use every day. Insiders have long seen him as the natural successor, a leader with what Cook calls the mind of an engineer and the heart to lead. And what about Tim Cook? Well, he's not leaving Apple, not even close. Cook will transition to executive chairman, staying deeply involved in strategy, working with global policy makers, and guiding the company through its next phase. From Jobs to Cook, and now to Ternus, Apple's story has always been about reinvention. The question now, can its next CEO lead the company into the age of AI without losing the magic that built it? Bureau Report for NDTV World.